Last Sunday, October 15th, which I believe it was the 15th, we had to rush into the emergency room. He was admitted into the hospital, the emergency room last Sunday. Ian is okay. The kids are okay. I'm okay. Everyone's good. But we did have to take Ian into the emergency room. But I was in here and I turned around and I seen Ian hunched over, and I immediately ran up to him and I was like, what's going on? Are you okay? And he was holding his chest and he was telling me that he didn't feel right. He felt weird and that his chest hurt. And I immediately told him to sit down. I'm like, we're going to the hospital. And of course, Ian's kind of arguing with me like, no, we're not going to the hospital. Everything's fine. I just need a minute. Well, in my head, it was like, no, we're getting the hell out of here. Like, we're going. And he eventually got up and he almost fell over, and he's like, yep. He was holding his chest and he's like, we're going. We gotta go. So we get to the hospital, and of course I'm trying to stay as calm as I possibly can because I'm trying to keep my kids calm because they were obviously upset. I'm trying to keep Ian calm. I'm trying to diffuse the situation, and I'm trying to stay as calm as I can. I don't handle stress very well, so this was actually like, I can't believe I kept it together. I probably should take like a course on stress management or something, but I didn't want to upset anyone more than they already were. So we get to the hospital. The kids and Ian get into the waiting room. I immediately rush to the front desk, and I'm like, the first thing that popped out of my mouth is, my husband's having a heart attack. I need someone to come here now, because we really thought that he was having a heart attack. Like, sorry. So I'm in the waiting room with my kids, and I'm telling them, like, everything's gonna be fine. Your dad's gonna be fine. He's not, like, everything's gonna be fine. And I'm like, that's all I could say, because I was just trying to keep them calm, and I'm trying to keep myself calm. So they take Ian back into a room, and they had the kids and I wait in the waiting room, and they're like, we'll come get you. So I called my parents and I tell them the situation. They came to the emergency room right away, and they came and got the kids. And I also called Ian's dad and his girlfriend, and they came to the hospital. Eventually, after a period of time, Ian and I were in the back of the hospital. He wasn't in a room. They didn't have a room for him at the time. He was on a gurney in the hallway. I was sitting in a chair next to him. And eventually the doctor comes out, and I think the first thing she said was, I have good news and frustrating news, but all I heard was, I have some frustrating news. It was a visceral reaction. It was just a physical reaction that I had, that I immediately got hot. I stood up. I was feeling dizzy. I threw my jacket off. I'm holding my husband's foot. I'm trying to keep it together. Like, all I could do was just immediately get up, stand there, and brace myself, because I thought, she's gonna give me the worst news of my life. You think of the worst scenario possible, and all I kept thinking was, what am I gonna do without him? Like, this is my other half. Like, this is my soulmate. He is my other half. I can't move forward. You know what I mean? Like, I think of all this stuff. So she looks at me, and she was very nice too. She looks at me and she goes, it's okay, calm down. Everything is gonna be fine. So she says to us, good news is we've ruled out a heart attack. He's not having a heart attack, but we did find something in the x-rays. So they took blood and x-rays, and they had found, here's his discharge papers. There's a bunch of information on this. I believe that I'm saying this right, but they found out that he has Wolff Parkinson White syndrome, WPW. This syndrome is a heart rhythm problem that causes a very fast heart rate. It happens because you have an extra electrical pathway in your heart. WPW is a congenital heart problem. This means you were born with the problem. He had no idea that he had this. We just found this out. For Ian's had symptoms like this before, not to this extent, but he always thought that it was panic attacks. They're saying that they can't rule that out, that it wasn't panic attacks he was experiencing, but they think that this is most likely what he has been experiencing in the past. What they're concerned about is the symptoms that he was having. That's what they're concerned about. I don't know if the symptoms he was having is normal with this. The way they made it sound is that I don't know. But they're concerned about that, and they said he needs to see a cardiologist. So Ian will be seeing a cardiologist so he can get more information on this. He was put on medication immediately that he is taking currently, but there is a possibility he may have to have surgery, is what she said. But she said it wouldn't be like open heart surgery. She said something about laser, so I don't know how that works, but he does have to see a cardiologist, and we'll know more at that point. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because the day before this happened, I had just finished reading this book. And I didn't even realize that. It hit me like a ton of bricks when that night, which I didn't sleep, I walked past the dining room table, I seen my notes, and I thought, oh, I was thinking a little bit about how I was going to go about making this video, and that's when it hit me. It was odd and eerie that this had happened, and I had just finished reading this book. It made me realize that life is so precious, and we don't know. Like, we don't know. Thank God my husband is okay, and he didn't have a heart attack, and we're gonna get this figured out, and everything is gonna be fine. But it did make me think that life is short, and we don't know. And in the book, she talks about how it's never too early to start. So there's not an age. I'm in my 30s, so some of you may be wondering why I'm doing this in my 30s, but there's no age limit to when you can start this. So I'm not going to continue. I'm sure I talked more than I wanted to. Let's get into today's video. Thank you for listening to this. Everything is going to be fine, and let's get into it. I know that I said I was going to declutter these wine bottles. I said that I was going to declutter these wine bottles before, and when I went to recycle them, I couldn't do it. I could not get myself to throw them in the recycling bin. And I think that when it comes to my wedding stuff or my kids stuff, the reason I hold on to these things, it is not for me. It's not for, or I'm sorry, the reason why I hold on to these things is not for other people. It is only for me. It is me trying to hold on to a time that was very special to me. And when you go through stuff like this, that is what you're doing. You're using an object as a memory. It is not something that I'm displaying. It's not something I'm going to do a DIY with. And honestly, when you're death cleaning, what you're keeping in mind is this something that your loved ones want? When you're decluttering your stuff, when you're death cleaning, the one thing you're keeping in mind, because this is about not putting a burden, this is to reduce the burden, the pain, and the emotion that you're sparing your loved ones from going through all of your stuff. So you have to keep in mind of other people, not yourself. You kind of have to take yourself out of the equation. Is this something that my loved ones, any of my loved ones, would want after I pass? Well, no, they're not gonna. What are they gonna do with 3 wine bottles? I am officially going to let go of these, even though I've said that once before. I am going to recycle these. These shoes, it's another thing. Is my daughter gonna want these? Well, no, because clothing and shoes and things like that are very difficult to maintain when you're storing them, because they can get water damage, they can get mold, they can deteriorate over time. Unless you're preserving the clothing and the shoes or whatever very well, it's not going to hold up. And a lot of times, like with baby clothes, this is my baby clothes when I was a baby that my mom held on to me, that she gave to me because she didn't want it. She's not using it for anything. She gave it to me in hopes that I would use it for my kids. Well, my daughter never used it because I didn't even know about it until we started decluttering over at her house. She forgot about it. So now, not only will they not, fit my daughter anymore because she's not a baby anymore, I'm not going to use them. She's not going to use them. And a lot of it's stained. Most likely, the majority of the clothes that you're keeping, your children's children are not going to wear. They're going to get stuff of their own. They're going to get newer stuff. It's going to be out of style. It's probably going to be ruined. It's just, it's not necessary for me to hold on to this stuff. And I'm not preserving or storing it properly anyway.
The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning is a fantastic book. I highly recommend reading this book. It's a really easy read. She gives you all of the tools, tips that you need to start death cleaning. She's very informative. It's a great book. This is a game-changing book. I'm going to pop the book up right here. I don't want to butcher her name, so I'm going to pop up all of that information right here. I will be sure to link this book in the description box below. One of the things that I wanted to mention right away is that she does state in the book to not start with sentimental items or photographs because you can get stuck down memory lane and therefore get stuck in the purging process. She recommends starting with clothing, books, or even starting with an area like the basement or attic, and then starting with larger items to smaller items. So like furniture you could start with.
Okay, I need to step away from clothes for a second. I'm having a difficult time with clothing, the baby clothes. I don't want to get stuck in the purging process, so we're going to move on. So I have some cookbooks here that were my mother's, and I believe one of them may be my grandmother's as well, but she gave me these cookbooks. She talks about cooking and cookbooks in the book. And the thing is that, and she brought up a very good point, that most of this stuff, most recipes, unless we've memorized it, we can find online. Oh, apparently I drew in it when I was a kid. A lot of these recipes you can find right online. So keeping physical copies of cookbooks, I mean, I think that if you are a really, really into cooking, maybe that's something you would like to keep in a collection. But I think if you're not grabbing these and going through them, like this isn't my go-to, I'm not grabbing these and going through them. I usually will go online to find a recipe. It's probably not necessary to keep all of this. The only reason why these are sentimental to me is because they were my mother's and my grandmother's. One of the things that she talks about in the book is, so she does eventually get to photos and letters and things like that, because eventually you're going to have to go through photos and letters and things like that. One of the things that I wanted to mention though, because I just got done putting baby clothes to the side, I used to do this and I should do this again. I took these back in 2011, but I took pictures, and I forgot that I did this. I took pictures of baby clothes. At this time, Zoe wasn't born yet, but did I have that upside down? Yeah. I was taking pictures of some of my favorite baby clothes. So instead of holding physical clothing, physical objects, taking a picture of it. The thing is that when you do that, and you can make like a scrapbook for it or a photo album for it. I mean, eventually, sometime in the future, maybe 10, 20, 50, 60 years down the line, these are going to end up getting shredded. But if it's something, it's a good idea to have instead of having the physical item. So I wanted to mention that I guess apparently I did used to take pictures. Letters, cards. Okay. She eventually talks about photos and cards, but one of the things that she brought up, which I thought was really interesting, is, and something that I didn't think of, that I actually have, is you may come across photos or cards or letters that you don't even know who the person is. We don't know who these people are. Ian and I this was given to Ian in a collection of photos that his grandmother, who passed away, passed down to him. His grandmother, when she passed, she knew these people. But Ian and his parents didn't know who these people were. So a lot of times when we get older, into our older age, there's a lot of letters or photos that your family members probably don't know or remember. It's just you. And is this something that you really want to you really want to keep? And one of the things she says in the book is you can ask other family members, even though they don't know the person, because it is cool to look at. This is looking back at these pictures, it's interesting. It's very interesting to look at. Some family members may want to keep it just to look back and say, hey, this is really cool to look at. You know, maybe it's in a different time period, the fashion, you know, the vehicles, the homes, you know, whatever the case may be that you have pictures of, may be really interesting to look at, and some people may want to keep those. So that's something to ask loved ones. The book is so brutally honest, because you feel guilty about letting this type of stuff go, because this was someone's life. This was someone's time period. And sometimes when we get rid of stuff like this, we feel like we're not honoring this person, like we're somehow we're being cruel to them, like we're dishonoring them, or you know, do you know what I mean? And we feel guilty about it, like shredding this. Again, this is a physical item that is going to sit and collect dust. No one knows who they are. No one is going to look at these. And honestly, its purpose has been one thing I'm not going to have a problem going through. Now, this is my brother's. How I got a hold of this? This is my brother's stuff. Better ask Ryan. I don't know if he wants to keep this stuff. So I'm not going to make that decision for him. How I got a hold of it, I don't know. But that is going to him. He can make that decision. This I'm not going to have a very difficult time going through, because this was mine. I'm very attached to my kids' stuff, not mine. My mom doesn't want this. So again, really kind of cool to look at the time period of it, but either that, you know. Oh, now these are hard. These are hard to let go of, because someone took the time to knit this or crochet it. But, I mean, I could put it on one of Zoe's dolls. But, oh, that's hard. See, those are hard. When I know someone took time, like I have a blanket of Zoe's that she never used, that someone took a large amount of time to finish for her. That I haven't let go of, because you think about that. You feel guilty about letting go of stuff like that. We got to let the guilt go. We got to let it go.
So you may be wondering, why am I choosing to go through to use the death cleaning method on sentimental items, even though the author recommends to not go through sentimental items or photographs first? The reason why I'm using the death cleaning method with my sentimental items is because I have been on a decluttering journey for 2 years now. And there is a majority of categories within my home that I have really honestly met my decluttering goals. Like the majority of my house, I've met my decluttering goals. There's certain categories of items that I'm very minimal with. Like kitchenware, clothing, jewelry, purses, shoes, electronics. There's major household categories that I am very minimal with. There's other categories of items that I will never be super minimal with. like holiday seasonal decor in general, wax melts and candles, throw pillows, throw blankets, kind of makeup, kind of furniture. These are categories of items that I don't foresee myself being super minimal with. And honestly, after reading this book, this whole book had me thinking about my entire decluttering journey, my journey to minimalism, and really thinking about these things and categories of items, because she talks a lot about categories of items in the book. And
it's just why, I don't know. I keep the dumbest crap.
Also not start the death cleaning method with things that you're collecting. Like if you love to collect coins or stamps, or you're really into golfing, to not start with those things first. Start with a category that's really easy. Sentimental items is another category of items that I am not very minimal with. This is not even a fraction of the sentimental stuff that I have. I just chose this stuff to start with. I chose a small amount of sentimental stuff to start with. I didn't want to take on too much, especially with using this method, especially with using a new method. But it is time for me to really get serious about sentimental stuff, because this is a category of items I have a lot of that I honestly don't want a lot of. This isn't like wax melts or candles for me. I always use wax melts and candles. I'm always using my throw blankets and throw pillows. I'm always using my decor. But sentimental items I'm not using ever. It's just sitting and collecting dust. It's just sitting in a bin somewhere. So this was a category of items that I really needed a really honest method. And this method, she talks a lot about honesty in the book, being honest with yourself, being honest with your family members and friends. Honesty is key. And this method as a whole is just being brutally honest. Like, is this something I want to keep to pass down to my loved ones when I pass? Like, do I want to leave this burden to my loved ones? It's about not having them go through the pain and emotion of going through my stuff when I pass, so they can just celebrate my life and grieve in their own way. So I had to be honest. I needed a really strong method, and this was it. This was the game-changing method.
You may remember from a decluttering video I did over at my parents' house. We found this in my mom's closet. And crazy enough, there is a friend of mine here, because you guys are not my subscribers, you guys are my friends. A friend of mine, after she watched that video and we found this in my parents' closet, she has the exact same, it was her or her mom, both, I think it was her or her mom, had the exact same painting, only it was sort of different. Like, you could clearly see it. Literally, it was the exact same painting. It's just someone else painted it slightly different. So I don't know, like, if this was something that they taught in like universities or schools. If this was, I don't know. I've never seen a painting like this before. I tried Googling it. I thought maybe it was a one of a kind, or maybe it was like, one of those you paint by numbers. I don't think
Okay,
sorry about that. I was on the phone with my mom and then I had to run out, so I'm back again. This was painted by, it says your great grandmother, but this was given to my mom, so it was her. It's my great great grandmother. Age 18. This was painted in 1894. She died March of 1950. When I found it, I don't know who this person is. I've never met this person. Clearly, I've never met this person. I know it's a relative of mine on my mom's side of the family that I never met. I don't know her. She painted this. My mom didn't want it. And for some reason, I felt the need to grab it because I was like, I can't let go of this. But why? Why? And it's because someone took the time to do this, but I don't want it. I have no place for it. And to be quite honest, because honesty is key, It freaks my daughter out. She doesn't like the painting. Where am I going to place gift giving? In the book, it talks about the stress of accepting unwanted gifts. How many times have you been given a gift that you hated, but it was from a friend or a loved one, and if they come over, you're afraid that if they don't see the gift out, that they're gonna ask about it, and then if you say you got rid of the gift, what if it hurts their feelings? And that does happen. It's not, I'm not gonna sit here and say that when you tell someone I got rid of the gift that you got because I didn't like it, isn't gonna hurt their feelings. Yeah, it's gonna hurt their feelings. But when I give a gift to someone, I do not expect them to keep it. I am giving it to them. And if they don't want it or they don't like it, they can choose to do with it whatever they will. That made sense. They can do whatever they want with it. I'm not going to be hurt or heartbroken over it. I don't want someone to keep something that they really don't like or want or use. So, but what I would recommend is if you do feel like you're going to hurt someone's feelings, and I think I'm pretty sure this is what she said in the book too, accept the gift, be grateful and appreciative of the gift, but then maybe when they first come over, maybe the first couple of times they come over, I'm pretty sure she said this in the book, have it out, and then slowly remove the item after a period of time. Because is that what she said, or is that just me? I may have misunderstood her. That could just be me. But eventually, they're not going to remember what they gave. The last decluttering video my mom and I did, I found a thing on top of the stove. It was like a little box. It was a present that I gave my mom. We found so many presents that I've given my mom that she herself forgot about. She didn't know it was there. And I don't even remember giving them I don't remember any gifts I've given my mom. None. Not one. So most likely they're not going to remember what they gave you. So after a certain period of time, they're not going to remember, and you can go ahead and let it go. And if you want to let it go on the first go ahead, like the moment you receive it, if you don't want it in your house, you don't have to keep it. She says in there, don't keep anything you don't like. But if you're trying to spare someone's feelings, I can understand waiting a period of time and then letting it go. But she talks about, they have a thing, I can't remember what it's called in Sweden, but it's basically an ugly cabinet. So all the gifts that they've been given that they really hate, they think is ugly, they put it in the ugly cabinet. And she talks about how that's kind of, why are you gonna do that? Why are you going to create a space for all of the unwanted gifts, for all the things that you don't like? When they see the things and they see that you're using it or you've displayed it, they're probably gonna think you like it, and they're probably going to keep giving you those things. So it's just best that if you don't like something, to just let it go. So then I'm down to 2 boxes. One is Ian and I's box. This one I won't let go of. So this is Ian and I's stuff. I will not let go of this. Don't ask me why. It's anything to do with him. And then I don't know what this is. Were these my mom's or my grandma's? Or was it my grandma gave it to my mom and my mom gave it to me? I don't remember. But they're angels. I don't want these.
I have a really bad habit and problem with creating an emotional attachment to almost any item. It's very easy for me to create a sentimental item. So like, for example, if we were on a family trip, we went to a restaurant, I would keep that receipt from that restaurant as like a souvenir, and then that becomes a sentimental item. That's how easy it is for me. That Marilyn Monroe and James Dean framed poster was my first big piece of decor I ever bought. I saved up for that when I was 16, 17. My parents didn't have a place for it. It was at their house. I brought it back to my house. I don't have a place for it. Someone else is going to love that framed poster though. That's the thing. A lot of this stuff is just sitting collecting dust when someone else could really love it, and it could bring them a lot of joy. And that's what I want. I don't need to keep all of this stuff.
Zoe, do you want to keep this dolphin?
What dolphin? Oh, yeah.
So I decided to take pictures of a lot of the baby clothes instead of keeping the actual clothes. I did get rid of a lot of baby clothes. I don't think I'm going to minimize the baby clothes anymore. I do have to create memory bins for each of the kids, but I thought that this was a really great idea. I completely forgot that I used to do this, but one of the hardest items for me to go through is photographs. I have so many photos, so many photo albums, digital photos. Oh my gosh, I got to organize those. It's going to take me forever. But photos is going to be very difficult. Death cleaning, although you can do it at any time, I do think that there are some exceptions. So, like with photographs, I'm not ready to part with those. I'm not going to. Maybe 30, 40 years down the road, I will, but not right now.
So this is what I'm left with. This is both Lucas's and Zoe's baby clothes.
There is so much more that I wanted to go over in today's video about the book, but I am at the end of today's video. So we have a lot more sentimental stuff to go through. We are going to be using the Swedish Death Cleaning Method again in future videos, especially with my sentimental stuff. So we're going to talk more about this book in future videos, but this is the majority of everything I kept. This is a lot of stuff that is, sentimental stuff from, my wedding, stuff that Ian gave me, stuff from my childhood. There's my coins that I place in this wood box. This is the bulk of it. I was going to put the baby clothes in here, but I decided not to. But this is going to go under my bed for right now.
This is now, as hard as it is for me to let go and part with this painting, I just don't think I'm going to keep it. I'm still really debating on it, but it's hard for me to let that go. I don't know why, but I think it's time to part with it. And then the Marilyn Monroe James Dean poster, which is framed. I think someone is really going to enjoy that and really love it. Here's some of the baby clothes that are going. There's more baby clothes and miscellaneous stuff in here. Ryan does not want any of this stuff. I think he did. I video chatted him. I think there was only one thing out of there that he wanted to keep. So I got to go through it, but the majority of it's going. I need to get rid of my wedding shoes. These were my wedding shoes. They're bad. You can't wear them. You can't do anything with them. So there really is no purpose of me keeping it. This is some more stuff. This is all stuff that's going. This is all stuff that's being donated. This is garbage and this is recycling. So this is, I think that for sentimental stuff, this is a very, very good pile. Okay, that is what's left over. I was thinking about putting the baby clothes in here, but to be honest with you, I don't know if I'm going to keep all those baby clothes. I don't know if I'm going to go through it again. For right now, I'm just going to keep it in that bag, but eventually I got to move the baby clothes into containers and separate Zoe and Lucas's baby clothes and probably create, I've been saying this for a long time, that I really do need to create a memory bin for both of them. And then they have their own bins instead of everything being scattered in a tub. Like that gray bin downstairs is holding the majority of their stuff. And it's just a mess. It's a chaotic disaster. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm emotionally drained. And a lot of this you may be thinking is really trivial or trash stuff. And I get it. I totally understand where you're coming from. To me, this stuff, for whatever reason, was special. And the older I get, the more I realize, especially after reading this book, I realize that it's not really that special. And it's just things. So I'm going to end today's video with this. My camera died. I'm gonna end today's video with this. I will be continuing to use this method, especially with sentimental stuff, because this was stuff that I have held on to my whole life. Like, I've had this stuff for years, and after reading the book and really looking at this stuff, it's like, why am I keeping this? I don't understand. Like, why did I think it was so special? And I think a big part of that is because, you know, I've never been a wealthy, rich person my entire life. And I honestly don't care to be. Like, I don't care. I'm totally content with that. I'm happy. But I think because of that, I don't have a lot of valuable stuff. So the things that hold a memory or a person, the item that reminds me of something or someone or an experience, that is the most valuable thing. But it's actually the experience and the people, the actual experience and people itself, not the object, but the actual person and memory and experience that you will always hold with you, no matter if you have the object or not. That's the most important thing. So, and sometimes items can be painful, you know what I mean? Sometimes items can remind us of people who have passed, who we've loved and lost. And that can be hard. You know, sometimes letting go of stuff like that, it's a relief. So letting go of this stuff, to be honest with you, it's a relief. So it's honest decluttering. It's not what you think it is. It's not what I thought it was. Maybe it is what you think it is, but for me, it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was the game changer. So that's it. That's all I got. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. I'm ready for a nap. I hate napping. I don't nap. But I really hope that you liked today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be doing this again. Lots more videos coming to the channel. I got a ton of stuff I gotta get done. So anyway, I love and appreciate you so much. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful you're here with me. And I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. We will talk to you on the next one. Bye, everyone.